Where are we and who are you?
We're at the Mobile Boat Show, Mobile, Alabama, the largest indoor boat show in the state of Alabama.
All right, and where am I here? What's going on? Fish lung. What's fish lung?
Fish lung is a device that's capable of taking ambient air, running through a series of filters, and producing pure oxygen that can be injected into the live well and or a bait well system.
That is wild. And did you invent fish lung?
I did not invent it. We developed the O2 Air and Sea is our parent company.
Okay.
Through a series of board members and several different things, through research and several patents and effort.
Okay.
Systems have been developed.
Okay.
There is no creating, but developed was probably the better word.
Product development.
Yes.
Long process. Let me back up for a second. What's your name?
My name is Dr. Ray Baker.
Dr. Ray Baker, and how did you get involved in this?
I offer my services to crunch numbers. I do work well with math, and
Okay.
I was asked if I could run some numbers for test results, and was introduced to several of the owners, and I got very interested in it. I'm an avid fisherman, and I bought into the company, and here we are.
All right, so it's a little science experiment that got out of control.
Way out of control.
That sounds familiar. That's my line, man, for
Absolutely.
my product.
And now we are developing more products for the need of the average fisherman, which we're primarily freshwater.
Okay.
In northern Alabama. I live on Lake Guntersville and the Tennessee River. Ed does as well. He lives in that area. The company is in Athens, North Alabama. But we had a need, and several people had requested information and efforts and products in regards to salt water.
Right.
But there's a big difference between salt water and fresh water, just due to the equipment itself.
Right.
And the harshness of the salinity as far as salt goes on equipment. So we put a lot of time, attention, and effort into developing something that would stand up to the conditions of salt water. And here we are, the Bait Lung Saltwater Edition.
Okay, saltwater edition. That looks like a bubbler, but it's not a bubbler.
It is definitely not a bubbler.
A lot went into getting the oxygen separated from the nitrogen from atmospheric air. You don't have to.
Yep.
You don't have to. These filters. Okay,
These filters.
You don't have to have an oxygen tank with you. It's separating the oxygen on the fly, which is pretty high tech, pretty cool.
It strips it from the nitrogen molecules out of there. That's what the fish can't use. They send it through a pressurized, using a compressor, medical grade compressor, back through the system, and that's the result.
Okay. And the target, I would think that this is going to be a pretty big deal in my neck of the woods down in Florida over these big boats. I mean, the boats are big, expensive.
Bait tanks.
Yeah, they put some of them, they'll have, 100 gallons for a bait tank or more even. Triples on them, and they might even drop $300 for bait.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Daily.
And not to mention $1,000 for fuel. So that would, for me, I would think that not wanting your bait to die after putting all that money and going to the off-road.
Well, the ROI would be just do simple math, just as you had stated.
Right.
How many days would it take in order to recruit my effort? A couple of weeks. Then the rest of the season, you're fishing as a profit, if you will, for lack of better words. So absolutely, it is definitely. Then you
get the time savings.
Just the time savings. I mean, several different things goes with that. With Kaysen is an active captain now and goes out in the Gulf. One of our guys, if you don't have fresh bait, it's difficult to catch.
It's good you have some young and good looking here. You talk and I'll just keep the camera on him.
Yeah, Kaysen is one of our captains, and Captain Bill is another one of our captains that uses himself.
Captain Bill, very friendly looking, but not young and handsome. Sorry. Camera staying over here, guys.
Captain Bud, excuse me. Captain Bud.
Okay.
But, and as we get more and more into the market, hopefully we'll get more and more captains.
Right.
And are not only captains themselves, but individuals as well.
Right.
To introduce this to them, because a lot of people don't know about it. Right. And that's the reason why we're here at the Alabama's biggest indoor boat show.
Right.
To introduce that to people. Hey, put this in your bait tanks.
Right.
Like you made the comment, one system is designed for roughly about 50 gallons. And what's unique about O2 Air and Sea fish lung, it's scalable. Math is easy. You get people with pop protectors that can do that.
Right.
If it's 100 gallons, you might need 2. If it's 150 gallons, you might need 3.
Right. And I think the ideally for you guys, so I met you guys at East Tennessee Fishing Show.
Yes, sir.
And I talked to John Johnson, right?
John Johnson. Yep.
Got him. And when I was talking to him, it dawned on me, or he mentioned something about a difficulty. There's some difficulty, complexity installing it. Or you don't think so?
We've gotten better with that because some of the parts have been reduced. The amount of moving parts and pieces to the equipment itself has been reduced because of that.
Okay.
On the first generation,
it's product development, right?
Absolutely.
So you're solving problems, right? One problem.
And that was identified as there's too many knobs,
parts, too many knobs,
and fixtures and handles. Which way is off? Which way is on?
Right.
So we ran into that, and the way to solve that problem was to remove it. So we kind of re-looked at that, re-engineered it, and see what was best.
Right.
Maybe at the time
solving problems, solving the bait problem, solving now the installation.
But then again, you have to run a cost-benefit analysis.
Right.
Is it worth that? Is the juice worth the squeeze? Absolutely, it is.
Right. I think the guys who are building the boats. Put it in at the time that you're building the boat, like you're doing your live well right now with your pumps, and you don't install the pumps after you buy the boat, right?
And now we're to that level.
Right.
To start with, we may not.
It kind of seems like there might have been some thinking in your head when you went to a boat show.
But then again, we get results back from consumers.
Right.
Just because we like it. Ed and I might think it's the best thing in the world, which we do.
Well, I think that about my product too, right?
Absolutely. But we get that feedback from customers to say, hey, have you thought about this? No, we didn't think about that.
Right.
But we've done that. We've taken that hard look. And it's by far in business, that's one of the hardest things to do. To take that hard look at yourself and listen, that product development. Well, I don't like that. Well, the customer, the consumer does like that.
Right.
So you build it. Don't build it for me. I have one already.
Exactly.
But if we build it someone that can be used, quick, easy use, I think it's easier, it's sellable. Just because you have the best system in the world, you can't sell it.
Right.
What good is it?
Right.
You're not getting that good word out to the consumer themselves. So we've done that. We've taken a hard look at ourselves because we have vast varying backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
I come from an aerospace industry. Ed comes from a pharmacy industry. And we have different people within the organization that have different specialties.
Okay.
So we sat around the table and pass that good idea hat around and come up with different things. And you'd be surprised how much synergy, if you will, you come up with when you have a group of people thinking all in the same direction.
That's
so
great.
It's been very beneficial from that standpoint.
John was telling me something. He told me kind of a fish story, if you will, about I think it was a bass, and he put it in a tank like that size.
It was twice that big. It was a smallmouth bass.
Smallmouth bass, right?
What we did was we put a smallmouth bass in it was a 25-gallon tank.
Yeah.
And we put it in the back of a truck with a black bed liner, 95-degree weather. The water temperature became 95 degrees. We left it in that tank without changing the water out for 25 hours with only the fish log. And at the 25-hour mark, we put no fish in. Well, Johnny couldn't even catch the fish out of the tank. It was so lively. He put it in the water. It took right away.
That's hard to believe. That's great.
We have it on our website.
That's great.
It's
great.
So it's amazing.
So if you had 300 pilchers in a big live well, probably gonna do okay.
Well, what's happening with Captain Guice and what they did last fall was they were able to, on several outings, at the end of the day in October, still have live bait that was lively, and they limited it out on all their species every trip.
Fantastic.
Because they had live bait at the end of the day.
Right. So the thing with fishing is that it's the accumulation of a lot of little things, right? It's an advantage, which is why, for me, for instance, like I'm willing to buy $400 or $500 combo from just kayak fishing, right? Because the sensitivity of the rod, just a small little advantage, the accumulation of those little things. So I think that's what you guys have here that you're keyed into is you're providing that fisherman one more advantage, right? You're still using live bait, you're not using cut bait, which is, I've been out on a boat and you go out, we get just one scoop of pilchards in a probably 30-40 gallon live well, and by 2 o'clock in the afternoon they're all dead. and we got a pump running the whole time, right? But 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we're starting to use them as chump, right?
For the most part, that's pumping air into your live well systems. We're
pumping
producing
oxygen.
Right.
Big
Well,
difference.
that one actually is exchanging water. It's you know, pumping fresh water, but they still die. You know, they still
All
die.
you're doing is pumping surface water onto there, which is the least oxygenated water in the lake or the
right,
ocean.
right.
Is surface water.
Right.
So what we're doing is we're taking the live well water and we're elevating the oxygen 3 to 4 times what atmospheric air is. So we're putting 90% oxygen in the live well.
Right.
And it saturates the water. Even if you're flushing your system out, they're
Right.
still getting 4 to 5 more times oxygen than they were.
Fantastic.
So they live so much longer. Well, as one captain said, you're keeping my bait fish long enough that I have to feed them.
Right.
So that
If I leave them in there, they're gonna have to eat each other, right?
So, you know, and as we know in the fishing world, if you have a fish that's happy, she will eat.
Right.
Bait fish, if they're not happy, it's like a cat. They will not eat. They'll die.
Right.
But when you have bait fish that you have to feed, you're doing
Right.
something right.
Right. So what we do is, you know, we go fishing offshore every time, and it's probably $30 or whatever for a scoop of whitebait. It's not a big boat, right? But then at the end of the day, you know, we're throwing them out. We didn't use them all. We just throw them out. And so probably throwing $15, $20 worth of bait overboard because you didn't use it. They're all dead. You know, what are you going to do? I think that especially if you're a captain and you're going out all the time, you're a charter captain, this is no-brainer, right?
Well, Captain Bud is keeping his bait fish alive to the next day.
Right.
He's keeping them.
Don't even have to buy bait, doesn't have to go catch bait.
Right.
You just
So
keep them in the
he's
live
keeping them
well.
alive to the next day, or he has overnight.
And he
charter.
doesn't have to run the pumps, just the
No,
fish
He's
lung.
actually turned his recirculation down so it doesn't recirculate as much because he's got the bait lung in there that is keeping his fish alive because there's more
Fantastic.
oxygen in there. But he's on overnight trips. He's got plenty of bait for the next day.
Right.
So his clients are getting the limit out on each day.
That's great.
So,
That is
you know,
great.
That's really, in the saltwater world, it's about catching fish. And if you don't have lively bait, if you're live bait fishing, you're just not gonna catch them.
Right.
This
Right.
is it.
I mean, we're like, if we're going offshore, if we don't get live bait, well, that's a bad day. You know, tell me I got to go offshore with artificials. Dropping a jig head down 80 feet. I'm not too happy about it.
Prime example, we got here this morning, filled the tank up, and it didn't have a lot of oxygen within the water itself. We tested probably about an hour ago, and it's roughly in the 90%. The reason why, we've been pumping oxygen in the tank all day.
So explain what we're doing here.
Right,
This
so
is parts per million, right?
The
Let me
top
try to get
number
it.
is parts per
we
million,
go.
and the bottom number is the percent of oxygen, saturated oxygen in the water.
321%.
That's right.
So that would be happy fish in there if there were fish in there.
But thank you very much for
No
talking
problem.
to me.
I
and-
appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a great show, and I mean, I really hope this thing takes off. I think it's a great idea. Very, very impressive.
When you get ready, come back. We'll get you one wrapped up and get you on your way.
First, I got to buy a boat.